So India's EV system is seen to be entering its next phase of growth. The hot word in the Indian automobile industry is yet again electrification and its trend across. And joining me today is the management of one of the leaders in the electric two-wheeler space. Let me welcome Mr. Vikas Singh of Greaves Electric Mobility joining us to talk about Greaves' growth, innovation and technology-related plans. Hi Vikas, so good having you on the channel today. Thank you so much for your time. And firstly, let me start with the EV transition that you are witnessing on ground, because with the latest commentary coming in from Prime Minister Modi, where he is emphasizing that people should now shift to electric vehicles. What exactly are you witnessing on ground, and where do you see the industry headed?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on the Motown Show. Thank you for having us here. At Greaves Mobility, thankfully, things are moving very well. We've been growing in very strong terms in terms of volume, in terms of revenue, in terms of market share, in terms of realization per unit, in terms of margin per unit. So I think directionally, we couldn't be happier with our performance. Furthermore, with the Honorable Prime Minister's announcement and also a sad outcome of the Iran war, there is clearly an uptick in demand for EV. This had to happen at some point in time. We were expecting this to typically come in with the penetration level touching at about 10% kind of a number, which is not too far away. But clearly, the geopolitics has accelerated the adoption of electric vehicles, and we are even more buoyant in terms of future prospects ahead.
All right, Vikas, now let's talk about your upcoming launches. Give us some sense that what lies in store ahead for Greaves Electric Mobility, and which segments will you be targeting?
Yeah, certainly. So Greaves is very nicely positioned in the value segment, Srishti. So, if you were to broadly break this segment up by price points, we define value more the sub 1 lakh price point, and then we say, products above that falling into the premium category. Most of our portfolio sits at roughly about the 85,000 to 95,000 price point, and very nicely positioned in terms of customer offtake and also customer experience. We're going to be looking to strengthening our footprint in this particular segment. We have been progressively, we, as you would know, are the only ones with a complete portfolio with the LFP battery solution. The LFP battery gives you twice the cycle life, is thermally more stable, and also overall, in terms of experience, a much better product to to have in your portfolio. It is something that the industry is now evaluating, fairly actively. We would be looking to expanding a higher capacity battery with a higher capacity motor in the value segment, which continues to add on to the customer experience. We have positioned ourselves using the line built for Bharat. We are looking at the ICE segment really as the target segment to position our products against. That is where the real opportunity lies, and that is where the ability to add on to the economy really comes in. Other than this, we have product options coming in the premium segment. The Nexus, our flagship product, has met with very good response on the various uptakes that we've had across the country. We've done some very extensive stress testing of the product. We did a campaign where we took the product up to Shipkila Pass, which is at 13,200 feet. It's on the China border, not the easiest of terrains to navigate. The Nexus covered that seamlessly and effortlessly, if I may say so. We followed it up further with another campaign, which is taking it up Koli Hills in Tamil Nadu. Koli Hills is a brutal climb of 70 hairpin bends going up vertically some 1,200, 1,300 meters. And the Nexus covered that also in about 22 odd minutes. So if you see the way we are planning our portfolio and building our portfolio is to give superlative experience in the value segment, and that therefore leads to a much higher adoption, and therefore all the metrics that I mentioned in the beginning in terms of share, etc.
All right, but because you will agree with me that for two-wheelers and electric two-wheelers specifically, technology is playing a very important role. Now we are seeing so many different types of offerings wherein different tech is getting adapted and even liked by the customers. Help us understand what exactly is Greaves doing on that front, as well as what is your key differentiator, because the competition is also seen to be steaming up.
Technology is integral. So, as a matter of fact, technology is a given in this entire category. IoT connectivity is something which is a must-have. So, whether it is talking about your mirroring of your phone, whether it's talking about Google Maps, whether it's talking about connected helmets, whether it's talking about geofencing, all of this is literally becoming a part for the course, and that is an integral part of our products. The premium products have these solutions. The value products, we are increasingly bringing this, the entire IoT solutioning into our products. In addition, I think the heart of this entire technology is how the software works with the hardware. So in terms of the battery, the motor, the cluster panel, the BMS, etc. This again is an integral part of the design philosophy. So to be able to optimize the customer experience, using all these various moving parts is something again that, Greaves with its legacy, 165 years legacy of engineering excellence, fits in very well and has been accepted and received very well by our customers. We are looking to further enhance battery capacity and motor power in our portfolio. So there again, from a technology point of view, the latest in terms of battery cells, the latest in terms of now rare earth free motors, ferrite motors is what we would be bringing in. So there is a whole host happening out there, Srishti. I think, to kind of paraphrase what you said, if one is not leading it on the tech side, chances are one would get outdated fairly.
All right, but Vikas, now let's talk about your key manufacturing facility, and I'm more interested in the Ranipet plant because I remember maybe 3-4 years back there were great plans for this particular plant, but things did not go well in that direction. But for now, what is the plan for Ranipet? What sort of a capacity lies there? What is your current capacity utilization? Give us some sense there.
Yes, absolutely. So the Ranipet plant is what we call a mega site. It has a capacity of about 480,000 units per annum. The current utilization is sitting at about 25 to 30%. We believe we are covered for the next 2 to 3 years on this particular site. So from that point of view, all our investments are going to be focused more in terms of upgrading the technical capabilities of the plant, which includes robotic and other process automation investments. From a core capacity point of view, we are well capacitized. It is fully contained, sustainable, etc. So all the investments have been made in a manner that it compares with the best, in the country today. The portfolio, by the way, has also taken its first few steps outside of India. So we've actually started catering to markets outside of India, which are equally demanding in terms of the product conformance levels, compliance levels, etc. So the Ranipet plant once again caters very well in that direction also. So critical part to our strategy, investments would continue to remain in terms of upgradation, possibly in sourcing of some of our activities. We have enough real estate there to be able to build on it. So there again, exciting part of the journey ahead.
All right, Vikas, now let's talk about your dealership expansion plans. Help us understand what are the plans to expand into more dealerships and especially increase your presence within the smaller towns.
So, dealership, India, nature of the country, demographics, geography, etc. Network enhancement, expansion is critical to growth. We are looking to double our footprint. We've already taken our footprint up by almost 25% in the last 1 year. We would like to take it up to almost, a double number in the next year and a half. We are very well placed in the tier 1 and tier 2 towns. We would continue to expand the footprint there. India has a large, huge underbelly in terms of towns and villages, which, can be, serviced directly. We would be further reinforcing every dealer touch point would be reinforced with a service center alongside, which will ensure that for the customers, service is integral to the entire, Ampere experience. We are also very proud to say that the social endorsement that we have in terms of Ampere as a scooter, whether it's Nexus or Magnus or Rio, in terms of not only the riding experience, but also the service experience is really a point of delight for for ourselves. Service is something that Ampere Care is what we call it. We take it very, very closely to our hearts. It is something which sits right up at my level. So, the dealer network and the service network would be doubled, and we will continue to evaluate basis the throughput that we're getting in terms of further expansion on this count.
All right, but along with that, how meaningful can exports become for Greaves Electric Mobility? Which markets are you targeting? Which segments are your preferred ones right now? Help us with more details.
Well, Southeast Asia, very promising. Simply put, if you see what's happening with the geopolitics, while India is feeling the pressure to some extent, the South Asian markets, some of the South Asian markets which are highly populated and highly two-wheeler friendly are feeling that pressure to a very large extent. We see this as a large opportunity. We've taken our first few steps in Philippines, in Nepal. Our product is undergoing testing in Indonesia. We would be looking at Sri Lanka very soon. So we would like to, Srishti, the thing in business is you don't want to go all over the place at the same time and then in the process do an average job. We would choose our spaces, we choose the geographies, we choose the product for the geography, and we try and build a credible share and position there before we keep rolling out, in a faster way. I wouldn't use the word uncontrolled, but in a faster way. So, international critical part of strategy. It also allows us better margins, so on all counts, once again, a logical extension to what we're doing in India.
All right, but along with that, as per you, what is the factor that the customers are prioritizing the most today? Is it technology? Is it range? What exactly are they looking forward to?
Well, in our experience, durability and dependability is something which is extremely important. Simply put, the way I imagine an ICE customer looking at an EV is, will this EV be able to take 3 people up a flyover without struggling? That's the first question in their mind. After that comes range. Thankfully, range is not an anxiety in the two-wheeler segment the way it is in the four-wheeler segment. The EV is almost treated like a mobile phone. You charge it in the morning and you go through the day, come back, put it on charge again in the night, in the morning again, as the case may be. So the question is, how does one address this potential anxiety of it being able to address the Indian family or the Indian consumer's needs as closely or better than the ICE proposition which has been in the country forever. So whatever we are designing is built with that at heart, and of course with an overlay of technology and also the overall experience, which then makes it a logical adoption point for customers from ICE contemplating the EV segment.